Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 8 Part 1 based on novel. So let's start. The unique Devil region was situated in the middle of Eastern Xian region. This region was considered as one of the most well-known areas in Eastern Xian region. The Great War during the ancient times was too distant of a memory for the people now, and they did not know the backdrop of that earth-shaking battle. However, they were aware that countless experts from the ancient times died within the unique Devil region. Hence, many alluring ancient treasures and inheritances were hidden in this extremely dangerous land. Even during a typical day, the area around the unique Devil region was always bustling with people. Although the unique Devil region was extremely dangerous, there were still countless experts continuously visiting it. After all, in this world, the allure of treasures was sufficient to cause one to be unable to resist and forget about death. Outside of the unique Devil region, there were many cities. Amongst them, the unique Devil city was the grandest one. As it was a chaotic place filled with all sorts of people, the city did not have anyone managing it. However, in any place, as long as there was a large group of people, there would naturally be rules being born. Regardless of whether it was an open rule or an unspoken one must naturally obey them in order to survive. Hence, this unique Devil city, which supposedly belonged to no one, had its own unspoken set of rules and managed to survive on its own order. When the large group from Dao sect gradually entered the unique Devil region, they were also able to see that there were quite a number of people flying across the sky and rushing over from all directions in the sky. Everyone's destination was clearly the same. Since it was an extremely grand event in Eastern Xian region, there was no need to even mention about Great Sect competition's ability to attract participants. It is truly spectacular. Admiration flashed across Lin Dong's eyes when he saw this scene. Although he had experienced the 100 Empire War and it was quite a large event, it was clearly inferior when compared to the Great Sect competition. After all, during that 100 Empire War, a 6-yuan Nirvana stage practitioner was already the top participant, while in this competition, the cultivation level was merely the entry qualification to participate. We have already entered the unique Devil region. It is likely that we will reach the unique Devil city soon. All of you will know what is called spectacular when we reach that place. Ha ha. Pang Tong laughed from beside Lin Dong. Lin Dong nodded slightly. He lifted his eyes and looked into the distance. Ever since he had entered this region, he noticed that the color of the ground had turned dark black. This color gradually became even richer as he extended his sight. In the end, it was as though the distant sky had become extremely dark, causing one's heart to feel pressured. This dark color caused Lin Dong's heart to feel somewhat uncomfortable. He had obtained some memories left behind from the ancient times before. Therefore, he was aware of just how frightening and evil these unknown dark creatures were. No one knew just what was hidden within this grand ancient battlefield. While Lin Dong lowered his head and fell into a deep thought, large groups of people flew past them rapidly. This continued for around 10 minutes before an enormous mountain appeared. After which, an earth-shaking noise suddenly spread across the sky. Lin Dong lifted his head after being disturbed by this noise. Soon after, he saw a seemingly endless black city in his sight. The city was just like an ancient black dragon that stood in a lonely manner and emitted an ancient and icy cold feeling. Human figures entered and left the sky around the black city like a locust swarm. A monstrous and deafening noise also swept out from it and covered this entire area. This is the unique Devil city. Pang Tong pointed towards the enormous black thing, parted the corner of his mouth and laughed. Follow me into the city. The unique Devil city is chaotic and has all sorts of people. Everyone should be careful. Standing in front of the group, Ji Lei warned them in a stern manner. After which, he exchanged glances with Chen Zhen and the other hall chiefs. Only then did he rush out and led the large group to fly into the enormous city. Although the human figures who had arrived around the unique Devil city were just like locusts, it was still rare for such a large group of people to enter the city all at once. Hence, the Dao sect group attracted the eyes of the entire place when they approached the unique Devil city. Are they from Dao sect? Even they have arrived. They are indeed one of the 8 super sects for mysterious life stage experts leading the group. This is quite grand. They are not the ones participating in the great sect competition. Instead, it will be a fight between their disciples. During the last competition, it is rumored that Tao sect suffered quite a heavy loss. Even their most outstanding disciple back then died in the hands of Yuan Gate. To be honest, those fellows from Yuan Gate are truly ruthless. That's right. The grudge between Yuan Gate and Tao sect is very deep. I wonder who will be able to gain the upper hand this time around. It is likely going to be Yuan Gate again. The reputation of the 3 little kings in Yuan Gate is extremely well known. It is likely that no one amongst the Tao sect younger generation members can compete with them. Some time ago, there was a pretty renowned newcomer in Tao sect. He seems to be called Lin Dong, and he even defeated Yao Ling from Devil Seal Mass. I have heard about this matter as well. However, Yao Ling cannot be compared with the 3 little kings in Yuan Gate. In any case, there is going to be a good show during this great sect competition. Private conversations swiftly spread over the entire place, and some of them also landed into the ears of the Tao sect's disciples. Immediately, their eyes became a little furious and gloomy. Darn the Yuan Gate. If I fail to kill a few of them during this great sect competition, how can I be accountable to the juniors from Desolate Hall? Jian Hao's expression was dark and solemn as he gritted his teeth and said. Quite a number of Tao sect's disciples beside him nodded in agreement. Lin Dong curled his mouth. It seemed like the enmity between Tao sect and Yuan Gate was quite deep. It was likely that they would not pass by each other peacefully within the unique devil region should they meet. Qi Lei and the others had indifferent expression in contrast to these outraged disciples. They were not overly concerned. Their expression suddenly changed when they led the disciples and walked inside the unique devil region. They turned their heads and looked towards another part of the sky. Some hurried rushing wind sounds also appeared from that spot. After which, a similarly large group of people appeared in front of their eyes. They are? Lin Dong narrowed his eyes and looked into the distance. There were quite a number of people in that group as well, and they were all wearing grey robes. Moreover, a dark and stern ripple was being vaguely emitted from their bodies, involuntarily attracting one's attention. The people from Thousand Puppet Sect. Pang Tong softly said. Oh. Lin Dong's brows were lifted faintly. The Thousand Puppet Sect was also one of the 8 super sects. However, their method of fighting was exceptional. Moreover, they were extremely troublesome to deal with. That was because every Thousand Puppet Sect's disciple possessed a life essence puppet. Since he had a puppet before, Lin Dong was naturally clearly aware of this. Do you see the person right in front? If I am not mistaken, he should be the most outstanding person amongst the Thousand Puppet Sect younger generation members, Demon Gui Li. Demon Gui Li. Lin Dong's eyes looked over. All he saw was a man standing straight behind 2 grey-robed elders. It was a grey-clothed young man with an indifferent expression. A greyish-white color appeared on the young man's face. Moreover, the dark and cold ripple that was vaguely emitted from within his body was also unusually powerful. Clearly, he had reached the 9 Yuan Nirvana stage. It is rumored that his life essence puppet has also been refined to a grade 9 soul puppet, and it is not inferior to a 9 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. We must be careful if we meet him in the future. A surprised tinge flashed across Lin Dong's eyes. Grade 9 soul puppet. Putting it in this context, this fellow could basically use 2 to fight 1 when battling others. It appeared that the grey-clothed young man sensed something as well when Lin Dong was looking at him. His eyes, which contained a greyish hue, shot over indifferently. It appeared as though there was a trace of dark and cold feeling vaguely penetrating through the air and engulfing him. Kai? Lin Dong's expression was calm. An invisible mental energy spread apart and directly expelled the dark and cold aura, which felt just like maggots in one's bones. A trace of devouring power was adhered to his mental energy, which directly devoured all the dark and cold aura, which was difficult to deal with, before expelling them. Huh? That grey-clothed man's expression changed only when his dark and cold aura was being devoured. A surprised expression flashed across his face. This dark and cold aura was something unique to their thousand puppet sect. Once it wrapped over someone, it would cause that person to feel a great headache. However, that disciple from the Tao sect was actually able to resolve it so easily. Interesting, it is unexpected that Tao sect actually has another outstanding person besides Ying Xiaoxiao. The grey-cloaked young man laughed softly. Immediately, he slowly withdrew his gaze. Let's go. Two grey-cloaked old men in front of that grey-cloaked disciple exchanged glances with Chi Lei's group. They did not say anything as they waved their hands and led the disciples from Thousand Puppet Sect into the city. After they reached the city, Chi Lei also led everyone and headed towards part of the city. Everyone in the surrounding sky looked at these two super sects which had arrived in the city. After which, they rubbed their hands together with an eager expression in their eyes. A grand event in Eastern Xian region was finally about to begin. No one knew which party would be able to come up on top. Under Chi Lei and the other Hall Chiefs' lead, the disciples from Tao sect stopped at the western side of Unique Devil City. After instructing them to be careful while outside, everyone was allowed to proceed with their own activities. Although they were large in numbers, the Unique Devil region was quite chaotic and it was filled with all sorts of people. Hence, there would definitely be some shady individuals who were not afraid of offending a super sect. After traveling for many days, Lin Dong originally wanted to quietly train for a while. However, Ying Huan had immediately come looking for him. He was unable to endure the latter's constant coaxing and pestering, thus, he was left with no choice but to follow her. Just as they were about to leave, they met Ying Xiaoxiao and Wang Yang. Ying Huan's eyes carefully dodged Ying Xiaoxiao's when they met. The latter glanced at her with a half-smile before turning towards Lin Dong. What a coincidence, we are also going out. Let's go together. Additionally, the treasure-seeking district in the Unique Devil City is very interesting. I am sure that junior brother Lin Dong will be quite interested. Treasure-seeking district? Lin Dong was taken aback. Unique Devil City is near Unique Devil region and there are often many treasure hunters entering Unique Devil region. They would find quite a number of treasures. However, most of these treasures are already broken. Of course, they are also some ancient objects that no one can recognize. If one has extraordinary insight, one might be able to spot some gems amongst these objects and gain a great reward. Ying Xiaoxiao explained. I heard that there was once someone who found a pure yuan treasure in the treasure-seeking district. After which, that person who sold him the treasure felt quite displeased and even attacked him in jealousy. Soon after, this issue grew out of hand and a bloody battle erupted. It is rumored that the entire Unique Devil City was disturbed and a great number of unfortunate individuals were implicated. Pure yuan treasure. Lin Dong was a little dumbstruck. Such an object would be considered as a treasure even in a super sect. Hence, he never expected that it would appear in this place. No wonder the seller would feel upset. Seems interesting. Lin Dong gradually recovered his senses. Rubbing his chin, he laughed. Some interest had indeed rose within his heart. He subsequently said, all right. We will head to the treasure-seeking district for a stroll. The treasure-seeking district was located at the northern district of Unique Devil City, and it was one of the liveliest districts in Unique Devil region. The treasures that appeared in this place were quite decent. Of course, the prerequisite was that one possessed sufficient nirvana pills. When Lin Dong's group entered that treasure-seeking district, the loud noise from the area immediately surged over like floodwaters, causing one's eardrum to feel a piercing pain. The treasure-seeking district was extremely vast. Even though this was the case, Lin Dong could still see a frightening human traffic on the spacious streets. There were quite a number of enormous flat and smooth stones within this treasure-seeking district. A light barrier covered these stones. Some individuals that seemed to be stall owners were seated within them. Various unique and strange things were placed in front of them, attracting the attention of the passers-by. Ancient martial arts, stroking cloud great thousand palm. It is definitely comparable to a high-grade soul martial art and it only costs 8 million nirvana pills. Soul returning pill. A holy pill for healing one's injuries. As long as one still has a breath left, it will allow one to be completely revived to the pink of health. 7 million Nirvana pills. Lin Dong's group wandered around in the treasure-seeking district. Upon hearing the various cries from all around, Lin Dong could not decide whether to laugh or cry. At first, they were attracted by the cries. However, they soon discovered that those so-called ancient martial arts were merely ordinary soul martial arts, and the medicinal pill only possessed a tiny healing effect. Only its name sounded mighty and domineering. As a young lady, Ying Huan enjoyed a place like this. Her body was just like a butterfly as she fluttered across the streets. Her dark black ponytail was flapping with the vigor of youth. A rather attractive sight. However, as the four of them gradually ventured deeper into the treasure-seeking district, the number of stalls slowly decreased. Moreover, the items that appeared caused shock to surface on even Lin Dong's face. The items deep within the treasure-seeking district are the genuine ones. Those who dare to hawk their wares here are all fairly skilled. Beside him, Ying Xiaoxiao explained when she saw Lin Dong's shocked expression. There are quite a number of super sect disciples here. Wang Yang suddenly said in a faint voice. Lin Dong's eyes scanned his surroundings, and he indeed discovered quite a number of humans wearing sect badges on their chests. They were all quite young and there was a similarly prideful expression on their faces. Clearly, they were the disciples sent by the various sects to participate in the great sect competition. Lin Dong merely glanced around randomly before withdrawing his eyes. He leisurely walked around and continued to observe the mysterious items that had appeared on the surrounding stones. While Lin Dong was paying attention to the two sides of the street, he faintly sensed a commotion to his front. He raised his head, and saw that there was a group of people huddled together in front of him. Faintly, a young lady's clear and angry voice could be heard. Lin Dong, Ying Xiaoxiao, and Wang Yang were momentarily startled when they heard this voice. Their eyes looked beside them, only to discover that Ying Huan was no longer at their side. Immediately, they frowned slightly and quickened their footsteps as they walked towards the gathering crowd. When the Lin Dong trio entered the crowd, they coincidentally saw a young lady with a furious expression on her face. In front of her were three young men with mischievous smiles on their faces. They were holding a jade green hairpin. Meanwhile, a powerful energy fluctuation was vaguely emitted from it. It was clearly quite a decent soul treasure. What happened? Causing trouble again? Ying Xiaoxiao frowned slightly as she glared at Ying Huan. I did not. I was clearly the first to see this soul treasure and had even agreed on a price with the seller. However, these three bastards suddenly interrupted and snatched the hairpin. Ying Huan spoke in a manner as though she had been wronged. Lin Dong knitted his brows slightly. He looked at the three of them as his eyes quickly found a familiar badge on their chests. His eyes immediately narrowed. Yuan Gate disciples. Beside him, Wang Yang's expression immediately darkened when he heard this. He slowly took a step forward. Wang Yang? Ying Xiaoxiao? As the two most famous Dao sect younger generation members, the expressions of the two Yuan Gate disciples immediately changed when Wang Yong and Ying Xiaoxiao appeared. After which, they turned their eyes towards the man beside them, whose smile was slowly receding from his face. From the looks of it, he was clearly the leader. Ah, Wang Yang, I had thought that you had been expelled from Dao sect. It is unexpected that you can still participate in the great sect competition. The man frowned slightly. He had a flippant character. He could not resist teasing Ying Huan earlier when he saw her pure and alluring manner. However, he had never expected that she was a member of Dao sect. Although things did not turn out as he had expected, he did not panic. Instead, he merely sneered at Wang Yang. This fellow is called Jiang Dao. He is no ordinary individual and is one of Yuan Gate's 8 soul generals. I did not expect to end up meeting him here. Ying Xiaoxiao softly introduced him to Lin Dong. Another of the 8 soul generals, Lin Dong eyebrows lifted slightly. He had originally thought that the other party was merely an ordinary Yuan Gate disciple. It was unexpected that this person actually possessed such a status. No wonder he did not panic when he saw Wang Yang. Return that goods and get lost. Wang Yang's eyes were dark and solemn as he slowly said. Hehe, in this place, as long as an item hasn't been paid for, anyone can buy it. Who are you to ask me to get lost? Jiang Dao's eyes turned cold while he laughed in a strange manner. Since you are not going to get lost, we can only beat you until you do so. Wang Yang slowly gripped the heavy sword on his back as his lips parted into a smile. He revealed his set of eerily white teeth as well as his killing intent. Are you going to compete based on numbers? Go ahead and try. Jiang Dao laughed coldly. He clenched his hand as a jade piece shot out. Finally, it exploded in midair. The brilliant fireworks transformed into a Yuan Gate badge. Swoosh swoosh. After that light symbol appeared, quite a number of rushing wind sounds were immediately heard from the sky. Numerous figures swiftly rushed over towards this place. Clearly, they were all disciples of Yuan Gate, who had seen the signal. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Ying Huan was clearly also being angered by Jiang Dao's domineering manner. A similar signal jade piece in her hand also shot towards the sky. Swoosh swoosh. As the most lively place within Unique Devil region, there were clearly quite a number of Dao sect disciples present as well. Hence, when they saw the Dao sect light symbol in the sky, their pupils hardened before they immediately dragged their fellow disciples, who were still shopping for items, and made a beeline towards the place where the light symbol appeared. After the members from both parties arrived, a large empty circle was formed in the area. From the looks of it, even before the great sect competition could begin, these two super sects with a deep grudge were already about to fight. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The sound of wind being split was continuously transmitted from the sky. After which, numerous figures quickly landed from the sky. Finally, they appeared on two opposing sides. Within a short couple of minutes, over 100 figures stood onto both sides. This lineup caused quite a number of people to be quietly speechless. Both parties were indeed worthy of being super sects. The treasure-seeking district was chaotic and filled with various individuals. However, the commotion caused by this event was quite major. Immediately, many gazes of amusement shot over. Lin Dong observed this tense scene as he frowned slightly. Just as he was about to speak, his pupil suddenly shrunk. He abruptly raised his head as his eyes turned to the sky. A wild and violent rushing wind sound had suddenly halted at that spot. After which, a powerful figure wrapped in a bright lightning glow descended from the sky like a lightning god. Finally, he landed in front of the Yuan Gate disciples. Ha ha, Wang Yang, a loser like you actually dares to ask my Yuan Gate disciples to get lost. Come come. You managed to escape with your life last time. This time, let me see if you still have such luck. An extremely arrogant and loud laughter rumbled and echoed in the area after the lightning figure appeared. Wang Yang's expression turned completely dark when this voice sounded out. He stared at the figure as a voice that contained a murderous desire seeped out from between his teeth. Little Thunder King, Lei Qian. Lei Qian. When he heard Wang Yang's eerie voice, Lin Dong's pupils immediately hardened before he turned to look at the sturdy figure, not far from him that was covered by a flickering lightning glow. Was this fellow one of the three little kings, Little Thunder King? Ying Xiao faintly wrinkled her eyebrows. With a wave of her jade-like hand, a meter-long green sword appeared in a flash. At this moment, a guarded expression was present in her eyes. Oh, looks like your Dao sect is much stronger compared to the previous time. No wonder you guys are getting more and more arrogant. The lighting glow surrounding the sturdy figure standing in the front of the Yuan Gate disciples started to withdraw. In the end, it completely scattered, revealing a rough face. Currently, a completely unrestrained look of insolence was on this face. He stared mockingly at Lin Dong and the rest as he smiled and said. There were faint and indistinct tattoos that seemed like lightning on Lei Qian's body, which gave off an exceptionally wild and berserk fluctuation, causing people to cast sidelong gazes of fear at him. Wang Yang's expression was dark, while thick murderous intent surged deep within his eyes. However, just as he was unable to resist and was about to move, a jade-like hand descended on his shoulder, preventing him from doing so. Lei Qian, keep your Yuan Gate members in check. Don't allow them to act like hooligans and annoy others in a despicable manner, said Ying Xiaoxiao as her eyes turned icy cold. I feel that our Yuan Gate disciples are very well behaved and there's no need to manage them. However, your Dao sect disciples should be the ones who need to exercise restraint and quit acting so arrogantly in front of our Yuan Gate, replied Lei Qian as a sliver of ridicule appeared at the corner of his mouth. Upon hearing his reply, rage and fury instantly filled the eyes of countless Dao sect disciples. Just because of this item? Lei Qian turned around and took the brilliantly sparkling jade hairpin directly from Jiang Dao's hand before casually saying, "How about this, if you all are able to snatch it from my hands, not only will I foot the bill, I will immediately ask them to leave this place." How about that? A sinister chill appeared within Wang Yang's eyes as he grasped the black broadsword tightly in his hand. Just as he was about to take a step forward, he was once again stopped by a hand. He tilted his head and frowned as he looked at the owner of the hand. "Let me handle this," said Lin Dong as he smiled at Wang Yang. Both Wang Yang and Ying Huan were startled for a moment, before both of them frowned. Although they did not question Lin Dong's strength, Lei Qian was no ordinary individual. Lin Dong. Ying Huan was frightened by his reaction and her jade-like hands quickly grabbed onto the corner of Lin Dong's shirt. "Don't be impulsive, I don't need that hairpin." This young lady, who was previously rather indignant and would recruit other senior and junior brothers to help her in a scuffle, had a panicked expression within her big black eyes when she saw that Lin Dong was actually planning to take on Lei Qian. "I shouldn't have caused any trouble." As he gazed at the small face of the young girl that felt somewhat wronged, Lin Dong unknowingly felt slightly taken aback, before a radiant smile appeared on his face. Extending his palm, he rubbed Ying Huan's head and said, "This isn't about the hairpin. There are some matters that are inevitable and cannot be avoided." As his words faded, he looked towards Ying Xiaoxiao and Wang Yang before softly saying, "Leave it to me. Be careful." Seeing the faint smile on Lin Dong's face, both Ying Huan and Wang Yang hesitated for a moment, before they finally nodded their heads. Stepping forward, Lin Dong finally walked out from the group of Dao sect disciples under the focus of innumerable gazes from the surroundings. Right now, this area had obviously become the focal point within the treasure-seeking district. Yuan Gate and Dao sect were both super sects that held great power and prestige. Furthermore, there was a deep grudge between both parties. From the looks of it, it seemed that there was going to be a good show to watch today. At a nearby district was a pavilion. At this moment, there were two figures on the upper floors of the pavilion who had cast their attention in the direction where the group of Yuan Gate and Dao sect disciples were. The two figures were a man and a woman. The woman was in front while the man stood half a step behind. This minute difference in position obviously indicated their difference in status. Between the two of them, the most eye-catching one was naturally the woman. Dressed in a white blouse and skirt, her fine black hair showered down till her slender waist. Her skin was akin to snow and she had a pair of picturesque eyebrows. Although her face was covered by a veil, her faintly discernible figure still caused one to be unable to tear away their gazes. Her aura was proud and aloof, and if one was to look up to her, she would seem like the Ice Queen within the Moon Palace, like a goddess that had arrived in the mortal realm, a beauty that was capable of causing the downfall of a country. Such beauty and such an aura, other than Ling Qingshu, who else could it be? Beside Ling Qingshu was a handsome man. A faint smile filled his face, while unconcealed admiration and infatuation filled his gaze when he occasionally glanced at her. At this moment, the two of them had cast their gazes towards to the district in a distance. When they saw Little Thunder King Lei Qian appear, their expressions changed a little. Even Lei Qian has arrived. Although Dao sect has Ying Xiaoxiao and Wang Yang around, they will likely not be able to deal with him, said the handsome man with a smile as he watched. The people of Yuan Gate are still this domineering, said Ling Qingshu in an indifferent voice. The handsome man nodded his head before saying, "I wonder if Ying Xiaoxiao or Wang Yang will take action, Before his sentence was complete, he suddenly exclaimed in surprise before he stared somewhat in shock at the thin figure that had walked out from within the group of Dao sect disciples. "Who is that?" Upon hearing his words, Ling Qingshu looked up lightly as her eyes casually swept across the figure in the distance. In the next moment, Her moving gaze instantaneously froze as an unprecedented astonished look appeared on her typically expressionless face. Her gaze was tightly fixed onto the figure in the distance, while her red lips gently parted. Her pair of jade-like hands, which were akin to lotus roots, slowly started to tighten due to the churning emotions in her heart. This figure was not unfamiliar to her. In fact, it could be said that it had left a deep imprint in her mind. Ling Qingzhu knew that perhaps she would forget many things over her life, however, she would never forget this figure. 5 years ago, on the peak of that small Great Yang Empire, that dialogue between them still reverberated within her mind till this day. When Ling Qingzhu heard that familiar name after the end of the 100 Empire War, the shock within her heart was something beyond her imagination. That abnormally delicate and frail youth from back then had actually managed to walk step by step to such a stage. She clearly knew Lin Dong's background. In the past, even someone like Ling Langqian was able to easily oppress him in the ancient tomb. For him at that time was perhaps just an existence that was akin to ant in the eyes of many. It was because she was clearly aware. That explained the level of shock she felt when she knew that Lin Dong had stepped into the Eastern Xian region. She knew how much effort the delicate but abnormally determined youth had to put in to reach such a stage. In a period of 5 years, that immature and feeble youth that she previously knew had truly emerged from his cocoon. That year on the mountain peak, she once said that the two of them would never meet again in the future. It was also that same year that the youth left his parents and started on his journey with a marten and a tiger. Nobody knew how much he had experienced, and nobody knew how many times he hovered at the gates of death. 1 year ago, she had suddenly heard that foreign and yet familiar name again. The youth at that time had used his own way to catch up to her. Right now, the youth that had undergone a complete metamorphosis had now reappeared in front of her. Furthermore, he could stand proudly in front of her as one of the most outstanding younger generation members in Eastern Xian region. Ling Qingzhu gazed at the youth that had walked out from the group, as the red lips under her veil pursed tightly. The youth had used his own hard work and effort to finally refute the firm opinion she had about him. The current him was no longer that young wolf that spared no effort to run along the path of the strong. He had already transformed into an eagle as he soared into the vast skies. The current him was no longer afraid of the halo around her that made him unable to look straight at her. Ling Qingzhu gently took a breath of air, before quietly staring at the thin figure walking towards Lei Qian. Since you have arrived at this place, let me see exactly how far you have come. This video will end here.